everybody. It is another Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. That means it's time for Certified Unscripted. I'm Vera Jones, your hostess with the mostest, whatever you're rolling with. And we're down to our final two shows of our very, very first season. So thank you so much to all of our viewers out there on Facebook, as well as YouTube Live, for just being loyal, for being real and raw and helping us do the same thing. When it comes to women's hoops, that's how we roll with it. We are certified and we are unscripted. And we're so unscripted, sometimes we get guests that I don't even know about until like 5 seconds before we get ready to go on. And that's awesome, because that's why I'm cheesing like this, because I'm very, very surprised and can't wait to introduce you to who we have on the show today. And a very, very special story. This story today will be unlike anything that we have done. I really hope you stick around for it, because I have a feeling it may very well change your life. All right. And if it doesn't change yours, it'll change someone you love. All right. So I'll say that right from the beginning, and we'll do what we do. We go and we get it raw from the GM. Hello, Penny. How's it going?
It's going great. Just sitting out here chilling. Happy it's a good day today. The NCAA women's basketball kicked off. And like you said, we got some special guests. We have a very, very special guest, and we have a great story. Ruthie is being unscripted and open. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. So I'm doing awesome. Let's get it.
Yeah, I am. I'm fighting with my background here, as I'm not in my home, in my little studio. I'm actually in a hotel room, but I brought the certified scripted set with me. Let's just hope it doesn't fall apart before the show is over, because I'm sure that will get some tweets and some laughs. All right. All right. So moving forward, bunch of stuff to talk about. But first, before we move any further, we absolutely have to bring in the mighty Ruthie Bolton. Ruthie.
I had to do it. Y'all hear that whistle? It's game time now. It's exciting. You ladies, it's always good to have a hangout with my ladies on Tuesday. And seems like it comes around so fast, but I'm gonna be a little bit sad that we'll be taking a break, hiatus. But I love you ladies, and hey, you're in for a great show, and I'm excited to you that this space to me is creating this atmosphere of just community and love and empowerment. So I'm excited about the show tonight.
Absolutely.
Oh,
we're super excited that you're going to share. But before you do that, we got to do some house cleaning real quick. What's going on? We've got the top. How you like that top 10? First of all, I caught the tail end. I was just getting to the hotel when I caught the tail end of South Carolina getting that win over NC State. So number 1 played number 5 today. Our top 5: South Carolina, UConn, Stanford, Maryland, NC State. And we can rattle off the rest of the 10. But any thoughts? Did you catch that game? Did you get a chance to see Dawn Staley's crew in action?
I caught the tail end of it. It looked like it was a great game, but you best believe I T-voted, because I knew I was going to be at work. I came in the end. I kind of caught a glimpse on my phone where the game was tight. So I was trying to rush home in the third quarter, and it looked like Dawn and them busted it wide open in the fourth quarter. Looked like they built up a lead, and NC State kind of faded in the background. I'm sure that was some poetic justice for Dawn, because last year out the gate when she was ranked number 1, NC State beat her.
Ouch! Yep, that's right. So, that upset still stung. You can imagine what practice was like this week. And another thing that I want you to remember, right? I'm sure she was pulling that back out. We are not doing that again. So very, very interesting. First, and it's that time of year. It's hard to believe already we're in the college hoops.
It's a lot going on too, but let's bring up Vivian Stringer. She's taking a leave of absence this year, concerned with, everything that's happening with COVID. I'm sure, for herself as well as her daughter, who has special needs, who has spinal meningitis, I believe, ever since she was 2 years old.
Yeah.
So she's taking a leave of absence. I believe if she haven't, this might have, or she already played her 50th coaching college career. So I think the league is going to miss her. Tim Eatman, I believe, is taking over for her as head coach.
Yeah, coach.
Hey, and there's some other dynamic stuff going on in the league.
Guy.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him, but I'm sure he's going to do a good job if he's sitting on Vivian's bench. Hey, I'm super, super excited because I want to see what Nikki Collins is going to do with Baylor.
Okay.
And I'm excited to see Kim Mulkey who I know is going to do an awesome, great job at LSU. So it's a lot of good things going on. Going to hate to see Gary Blair leave and retire at the end of the year, as well as Mike Krzyzewski at Duke, who's also retiring. So it's a lot going on in the NCAA this year, men's and women.
Yeah, it'll be for the first year, I'll really be able to just sit back on the sidelines and not be broadcasting. But I can't at least mention what caught my eye right away, having come from the Big Ten Network, was the fact that 4 Big Ten teams, and this has got to be the first time ever, at least in my history that I can remember, that 4 Big Ten teams were in the top 11 or top 10, just kind of hanging in there. Wow. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I guess I'll be watching more Big Ten than I realized this year. So, and anyway, before
I got one thing on that. I bet, and that's the first time, and it's rare that you don't see Ohio State in there. You know,
that's right. That's right. That's exactly what I was looking. I was like, so just so
that's what I'm listening to. Yeah,
you got Maryland at 4. This is in the AP poll. Maryland at 4, Indiana at 8, Iowa at 9, and then Michigan coming in at 11. So that was, and no Ohio State. Exactly. Like, how the season's changed. Now, you can't talk about college basketball. You just can't unless you bring in someone that really, really knows college hoops. And who better than Joanne P. McCauley? Coach P is in the house tonight. What's up, Coach P? For those of you just joining.
Mighty Ruthie, this is a privilege to be with y'all. And things are going great, not coaching, but I did catch a lot of that game tonight.
Okay. And, what were your thoughts?
Well, defense seems to be ahead of offense. And coaches don't seem to, to me, in the early rounds of things, it's turnovers and shot selection that are always interesting. But bottom line is South Carolina looked tough and in control the entire game.
Yeah. All right. Good. Thanks for that report. We're definitely going to be checking it out. One of the things that I wanted to ask you before we jump into our segment tonight is just this time of year, how stressful, how crazy, what does it feel like for the coaches, for the players? Season tip off. You finally made it. All the preseason's gone. It's time to be focused. What is that like?
It's exhilarating. It's an incredible time of year because the players are tired of practicing either against each other or scout team. So they're ready to go against a real opponent. And coaches are excited to see what they have and who delivers. And, it's different. Game time is different than practice time. So who's going to show up at critical moments? And everyone's been waiting for this since the pandemic, and things weren't real, it seems, a lot of the times here. I mean, this is for real, getting a start to the season, and it's very exciting. And there are many, many great teams.
Yeah, and I didn't properly introduce you. I just threw you out there like everybody knows who Coach P is. I would be surprised anybody on this panel that doesn't know, any of our listeners or viewers that don't know. But formerly, was it 2020 or 2019 that you left Duke? She was a head coach of Duke. That was 20.
A year and about 16 months. Who's counting?
Yeah. 2020 didn't even happen. Like, I can't do the math when I start trying to think about 2020. And now you're an author. She's now touring the country and speaking. Her book, Secret Warrior, talks a lot about what we're going to go into tonight. So without further ado, I want to say it's a very, very special moment because we've done 20 episodes. And although our great panel, Penny Toler, Mighty Ruthie, Teresa Weatherspoon, we get on and we talk about sports. We talk about what's going on in the world. We talk about COVID. We talk about, Black Lives Matter. We talk about everything, but we don't always dive into some of the depths of pain that has translated into purpose. And that's what we're going to kind of hang out with tonight as we hear Mighty Ruthie's story. Ruthie, without further ado, this is your night and an opportunity for you now as a speaker that you go on and speak. Coach P is here because she's also speaking very much on this topic. But let's hear about your life a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. Can y'all see me?
We can.
Oh, okay. In my little spot here, I don't know why I see black, but anyway, thank you once again. Thank you for creating this space for the share. And Coach P, it's good to see you on here and just really surrounded by some powerful women. And I just, Yeah, I think, and a lot of people don't know. I know ESPN did a documentary 4 years ago on Mighty Ruthie and sort of the truth behind the Mighty, and many people didn't know during, from the years of 90, from the 90s for about 7 or 8 years, I was going through domestic violence in my marriage, and I really was a thing where I just sort of pushed up on the rug. I said, you know what, it's all good. That's the past. But didn't realize that, it was a situation where people always say, why didn't you get out? Why didn't you, walk away? It's easier said than done because how my career unfolded, I was told no, I wasn't recruited out of high school. I had to fight for everything I got. I had to pay my first way to tryouts with the national team, and nothing was handed to me. So I got used to just fighting. And when I fought hard, I got great results. So when I found myself in an abusive marriage, I didn't know how to quit. I would go to counseling and they said, you gotta leave. You gotta get some getaway bags. You gotta, this is not, to me, I couldn't really, it didn't sound right saying walk away, quit, because I didn't know how to quit. That wasn't in my DNA to walk away. The only thing I knew was fighting the fight. And that's what I did. And to me, the hardest got, the more I wanted to stay, the more I wanted to fight, the more I wanted to just, because I said, if I just work a little bit harder, because on the basketball court, if I work harder, I got better. So in my personal life, with this, I said, if I fight harder, I'll get results. I wasn't getting results. So I got to a point where I didn't know if victory was staying or leaving. I didn't care about the struggle. I didn't care about hard, because I'm not afraid of working hard for something. But I got so caught up, and I felt like I was in this deep hole, because a lot of people didn't know that when I would go home and the things I had to deal with. But one thing I will say, I've turned my pain to power, because basketball was a safe haven for me. It was a place where I felt like I was validated, I was edified, you know. And I remember being at a workshop, and this little girl, 10 years old, asked me, she said, why do you think, she said, oh, she made a comment. She said, do you think, she asked me a question, do you think you played so hard because you finally found you could escape back, you could escape your trauma, what you were going through? And I was like, you know what? I think that's why I played so hard, because I felt like I wanted to get some of my self-worth back. And one thing that I've learned after going through workshops in the last 4 or 5 years and hearing stories from women in prisons, one of the things that, it doesn't matter who you are, domestic violence doesn't have a respectable person. You can go through, it doesn't matter what kind of job you got, what you look like, really it would try to take the very core you are. And so going through that, I learned a lot about myself, but trust me, I didn't always like who I saw when I looked in the mirror, because I said, why am I going through this? What did I do to deserve this? And so just really being able to sort of pick up pieces every day to try to be there for my teammates, pick up the pieces every day to try to be there for my team. And that was a place that I started to see a glimpse of light. And every time I would be on the basketball court, I saw this glimpse of light. I came out this hole. But when I would go back home, I felt like I was in the bottom of this dark hole, and I was on a slippery slope, and I could not get a grasp on what I was dealing with, because domestic violence wasn't talked about that much back then. And I didn't really share a lot with my teammates. They sort of knew I was going through some struggles, but they didn't know the depths of what I was going through. And so really, I didn't really understand it, believe it or not, until about 4 or 5 years ago, when I really started, when ESPN wanted to do the documentary, because I was like, you know what? I don't even really want to do it, because I don't want people to feel sorry for me, because I still had this shame. I still had this insecurity about, why are you talking about it now? But the only thing that really pushed me to do it is because I remember Carol still saying, Ruthie, I know it's a tough time, and I know you're not sure if you want to do it, but she said, you're going to save a lot of women's lives. You're going to save women's lives that you would never probably ever meet. She said, you're going to change the landscape of women, the trajectory of women's lives. You're going to really give women permission to rewrite their story. And so that's when I decided, so you know what, I wanted to do it, because I know my calling. I know my purpose in life is bigger than basketball. So I had to move out of self. I had to really, and I knew my healing really didn't come until I started talking about my story. I started sharing it, going to women's prisons and going to overseas for U.S. Embassy. That's when I really started to heal. But the journey of it. And the most important thing, I told them that I will not do it unless they focus on forgiveness. Learn how to forgive myself, and also forgiving him, forgiving everything, not really holding grudge. Because you know what? It doesn't matter what happened to you, Vera. Whatever you go through, if you don't forgive, you're going to become prisoner of your own emotions. Yeah. And you won't learn how to fly. You won't learn how to soar if you don't learn how to forgive. And that's something that I told them the only reason I would do it is that we could put emphasis on forgiveness, which they did. They talk about forgiveness. So it's interesting. So when I talk about this, going through that, it's not like I don't have any resentment. I don't have any unforgiveness. It's like it's a part of my life. It's a part of that dark place of my life that I embrace just as well as winning the gold medal, just as well as winning the world championship. I embrace that because I know already since the last 3 or 4 years, I've gotten so many letters, so many, even men. I was on social media saying, "Oh my goodness, I had a sister went through it. I had my mom went through it. My daughter may be going through it." But your story, by you being transparent and vulnerable, you really helped me, and now I can find closure. And I know sometimes really tricky about being transparent and vulnerable because you feel like, am I healed enough? But sometimes you got to go out on faith, and you got to be able to trust that, you know what, God can meet you where you are. Because I spoke at an event, and I literally couldn't hardly articulate words without crying. I was so emotional, just like, man, it was just so hard. This young lady came up to me, and she hugged me, didn't want to let me go. She said, "Thank you for saving my life." She said, "Thank you for giving me closure." And I was nowhere near healed, but by me showing up, I created a space for this lady to say, you know what, it's okay not being okay. It's okay being in a place where I don't know what to do, but the fact that I don't know which direction to go, but do something. But I created a space for her to be vulnerable and say, you know what, I can remove the shame. I can look at myself and not judge me, and but create a space for discernment. Like, you know what, I'm gonna grow through this. I'm going to turn my pain to power. So it's been a journey. It's been I've just heard so many stories that even worse than mine, and the details of my story. I know I talk a lot about at workshops, and I'm gonna share this. And in my situation, in my marriage, I would have stayed there. The only reason I decided to walk away is that I put someone in a chair that I love more than myself. I can remember, Vera, after we I was in Turkey, won the gold in '96. I stood before the trash can and said, you know what, I don't deserve these medals. I don't deserve this. My marriage not even working. I literally almost threw my medals away because I said I didn't deserve it. And this voice spoke to me and said, you know what, you do deserve it. Don't do that. And because I felt like if my marriage wasn't working, none the rest didn't matter. But I'm so glad that I can look back and that I held on to some part of me during that process. And times when I would go through it, I would go jogging, I would go running, I would start working out. So I felt like, I am strong. I can do 15 pull-ups. I am strong. I can do 75 push-ups. I found that piece of me that I almost lost, because I've talked to women, that high executive women that you would never think they've gone through this.
Sure.
They have, like, man, they shared with me their story, and they stay in a situation because they don't want the public to know. They have to live. They say, I admire you for your courage to finally stepping out, because I'm in a situation that I feel handcuffed. But so it's really a lot of sad situations out there, a lot of stories that they feel blocked, they feel stuck. But I'm thankful that for a majority of the women that I've shared it with, a lot of them say, you know what, I can finally step out on faith. I can finally make this move. I can finally pivot in a direction that I can get my power back, because you do lose a lot of your power.
Yeah. You invited Coach P on here today, and as I'm listening to you, it is a very, very difficult spot to be in. Mentally, it's not just the emotion, but all of the thoughts that go through your mind. You just made a comment, Ruthie, about how, I don't even deserve these medals, or, all that negativity that goes through the mind. And for that piece, Coach P, you have, like we just talked about, authored a book, Secret Warrior. And you've had a story to tell of your own, and now you've kind of been catapulted to the forefront almost as an expert when it comes to that mental wellness. Even if it's not mental health, it's mental wellness and being able to think better about your life. Can you talk a little bit about, your understanding of what Ruthie went through, but also what you've experienced yourself?
Ruthie, I love you, lady. I just love how you're sharing your story, and it always kind of hurts, in your heart to share, but then your heart gets so strong, because you are. The shame and blame thing, everything you said, obviously I felt an echo in the shame, the blame you have for things. And there's always, I think, something that puts you out there to really, as you said, speak to what your truth is. I was in a church, my teammate's daughter at 26 took her life when I was in that church, and I knew about my secret, my shame that I couldn't come, forth with. Something hit me just hit me, and I had to write and share it. And it is hard to be vulnerable, from an athlete point of view. We're supposed to be humble, not vulnerable. We're supposed to be humble, and sometimes we're not even humble. We get so caught up in the moment. But the idea of being vulnerable and really letting it all out there is powerful. And I'm right with you. I mean, we shared scripture, you and I, and it's Esther, man, Queen Esther, such a time as this. 414, man. We've gone from fear, don't, let your heart be troubled. Don't let it be afraid. Ruthie and I had a conversation. We hadn't talked in 25 years.
Yes.
And then we're talking about the scripture on my wrist and how it's the two verses that we both adore. And I'm like, Ruthie, what is going on? It was crazy. I mean, Ruthie, that conversation, I'll never forget it. And I just love you sharing your story. It gives me such strength.
And I think it's important, Ruthie, and you being strong and Coach P to tell your stories, because it's just another aspect of female athletes that people don't think would happen to someone, an athlete of your level and your, all the stuff that you achieved. That I'm just sitting here thinking, how in the world did you ever focus with that going on at home? Because home can make work in that life difficult, let alone when it's domestic violence. I'm sitting back here going, how did you focus? And because I know that had to be a big secret and tough to hide. It's almost like you had to be two people. How did you focus?
It was one of those things where I just had to I took one day at a time. And really being around my teammates, I think that's what really helped me to play outside of myself. Because Joanne, you was at Auburn. I wasn't this highly decorated player. I wasn't even recruited. Like, I had to literally ride a bus to Auburn. I didn't have the skill set, so it's like.
Ruthie, you froze.
A place where I think I had this. Am I froze?
Yeah, you froze a little bit. Can you
start where you had the skill set? Yeah,
I had the skill set, but it was just I was so focused on playing and pleasing my teammates and pleasing my coach, to where that kept me so focused that it was like two different worlds, Penny. I would go home, and there were times where I would hope that we would go into a team party and we were doing something afterwards, so I wouldn't have to go, because I didn't know what that was going to be like. And I knew it was, sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, sometimes it was horrible. And so that what really kept me fighting. Like, you know what? My teammates validate me. So I just really lost myself in a play. I could control the outcome. I could control how hard I played. But there I could not control what was happening. So it was sort of going back and forth. And I just really, my faith, I just always pray. I said, Lord, you said you've never seen it forsaken. You said your word should not return. So I just really just prayed every day. Just like, Lord, if you want me on this battlefield, you just spare my life. At times I didn't know if I will live to the next day. I know when I'm in those workshops where, where's a lot of just women, I share some very vicious details that I know that the reason I'm still here, it was God, because I wasn't supposed to be here. There were times he was a deputy sheriff, and times I was, he owned. I'm tell y'all how it could get their mind. I actually won for his birthday. I bought him. He was a deputy sheriff. He owned about 10 guns. And times when we would have arguments, or I didn't argue, but that upset me. When I went to bed, there was either a rifle in the bed or a gun to sort of like intimidate me. And I remember I bought him a 357 for his birthday. That's Clint Eastwood. That's the strongest handgun. I did it as a way to show him that I wasn't afraid. And I'm thinking like, there's no way he gonna shoot me with the gun that I bought. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to do it as a reverse psychology, but I was I was in fear. I never knew. And I just said, Lord, if you got work for me to do, spare my life. But I felt like I was sort of stuck in this way. And that's every day I got up and was a day. It's like, wow. And so I didn't even know. I was so afraid of the physical, the mental, and emotional. I was like, that was a great day. Like when I would go to counseling, I would sneak and go to counseling on my own. And he would tell me some of the things he would say. He said, you're not supposed to live like that. And I'm like, oh, it was a great day. In my mind, it was a great day because he wasn't physical, the mental, emotional. I didn't realize to the degree of what that could do. But you would think that he showed his cycle. He said, this is going to happen next. This is going to happen. I was blown away. I'm like, how you know? He said, I've done this for 30 years. I know it's going to happen next. It's a cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did you get away? I hate to interrupt this. I'm just sitting here thinking like, Ruthie, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think I would have bought him a 357 or
I know.
whatever. Unless I was buying it to pack myself, not being funny. Not being funny about it. But how did you get away from him? Because it seemed, how did you get away? Well, I'm sitting here, I'm telling you, I'm in awe, literally. I'm in awe. Like, because when I heard you were going through this, I'm not going to lie to you. And this is why I say your story is so true. Because you know how I'm thinking like, and this may be ignorant. And I'm not trying to be ignorant. I'm just like, Ruthie, knock him out. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you know what?
You've been so in shape and all these things. I'm like, and this is why I say your story is powerful because people, like you say, people think it won't happen to them.
Yeah.
How did you get away from him?
Because it's funny. When I went to the women's prison, I went to all the women's prisons in California and spoke. And when I was sharing my story, those women were so mad. They was like, let me get hold of him. Then they were like, hold up. That's why I'm in here now. Because you know what? It's not in the women's prison. 94% of women in prison from domestic violence. 94.
And half of them
94%.
94% is women that took matter in their own hand. I heard stories. This lady was like, you know what? She said, I'm serving 50 years. I'm serving his sentence. He beat me. He raped me in front of my kids. He beat me, but when she took matters in her own hands, she actually made him his favorite meal, some spaghetti, tea, and she poisoned him. And he didn't die because he was so full of drugs, but she got 50 to pretty much to life. She in the 50 years serving his sentence. But anyway, the night I put my niece in that chair and I said, because I couldn't see it myself. I felt like I probably deserved what I was going through. But when I put my niece, I said, that don't sound right, somebody talking to her that way. I just saw it through a whole different set of lens when I saw her there. And really the week before I left is that I remember I renewed my vows with a black guy. I went on the way home, on the way here actually. And so I actually, when I got back, my dad said, he said, you don't have to stay in it for one day, but this is your life, your decision. My dad, he knew it. He's like, because the bottom line is people ask me, why did he marry you? Because guess what? If he hadn't married me, I would have got somebody else to marry me because I hadn't really hit rock bottom yet. And so, but anyway, fast forward to answer your question. My dad said, if he ever threatened you, please believe it. If he ever say, So I remember that week before he was an alcoholic too. He drank and stuff like that. So that week before, he said, if you ever, he called me in the living room. He said, were you talking back to me last night? I said, I don't know. We were just having a conversation. He said, if you ever talk back to me again, and he said, listen, notice, he said, smell my breath. I haven't been drinking. He said, so you always blame me on the drinking. He said, I'm sober. I'm just telling you the truth. So I knew then, and I remember sitting there like, wow. Like, this is serious, like real serious. And I remember getting very emotional because I knew then that it was over because my dad said, if he ever directly threaten you, you better really take it seriously. So, and I remember he said, okay, now let's go to the movies. So we literally got up and he told me that let's go to the movies. We get there And we get there. Matter of fact, we were sitting. He just said, you know what? I don't even like you. Get out of my house. He put me out. I remember put me out. I don't know where it was. And I think I called one of my friends to come pick me up. And so it was sort of that last week, it was started to really heat up. I remember, cooking that. I was around Thanksgiving. I was cooking a meal, which I didn't cook as much, but I remember cooking, and he was in the living room. He came in and he had been drinking, and he drank a lot, but when it escalated, when I could see his eyes red, and then he was sitting down in the living room, and he said, "Come here." I said, "Okay, I'm coming in a second. Give me a second." So I peeped over and looked, and he was sitting on the floor with a beer bottle in one hand, a gun in the other hand. And I was like, okay, hopefully he'll just fall asleep, because the minute time he's falling asleep and he'll wake up, he's like, what did I do? Whatever. So I think, so he's like, come here. I said, okay, let me finish making this thing, because I'm trying to contemplate, what should I do? Should I leave? If I try to run out the front door, he might just shoot me. But if I try to go out the back through the garage, he might, to get up and get in the car by the time I get the car, so. And then I remember hearing this sound. He threw something in the kitchen. He said, if you don't come in and get me, I said, I'm coming. I'm on the phone with my dad. He said, I don't care who you're on the phone with. And usually if I'm on the phone with my family, he'll just sort of quiet down. So I said, this is not good. And that's when I literally I lit the garage up, ran out the garage, rolled up on the garage and left, and went down to the neighbor. And I knew that it was really, really serious, and so at that point I left. And I actually didn't. I actually decided I left to come to go to California, and I was gone physically, but my mental, I was still wanting to be back. It was crazy where I felt like I said, I always still would believe in that if he got better, if he got some treatment, that he could really, become the person that I fell in love with. And I was hoping and praying, but realizing that I would just, he went to counseling for like a week. He's supposed to go for like 30 days. He said, ain't nothing wrong with me. And so I just figured in that if he didn't, my therapist said he needs to go to counseling for 4 or 5 days, but he only went a week. So I'm not doing it anymore. So anyway, so that's when I left. I didn't go back, but emotionally I was still there. But I think I probably at that point realized, and sadly, I had felt like I had failed. And it was hard for me. And it took me about 2 years after that point to divorce. But it was tough because I didn't want to be a failure. I'm not used to failing. I'm used to, I work my butt off. I'm winning. I can win. I can make things work, but I couldn't get the results I wanted. And that really, I dealt with a lot of like a failure.
And I think you hit on such a good point, and especially as it relates to women in sport. We'll tie this back to basketball, that there are a lot of people, and Coach P, I'll ask you about this, when you start working with players who are in these situations, right? I mean, there's all kinds of situations that are related to this. 1 in 4 under the age of 18 have been molested, right? And statistically, so you literally are on any given basketball team, there's going to be 3 or 4 players who are coming in with an abusive situation, whether it was molestation or abuse or neglect. And then they get into college, and sometimes they carry these same relationships, and they're going through things like this. And it's not just those relationships, but there's so many other things. When you're coaching young women, is there a way to kind of know those people, in your experience, those young women that are going through something?
Well, I think that was, yes, I think you could observe and know by experience. And in my personal situation that took place when I was a younger coach at Maine, and I had to get so much therapy and so much help, and have a psychiatrist taught me a great deal. So I could know what to look for, but it doesn't mean as a coach you could make a difference, because you couldn't pry, you couldn't, get into personal lives inappropriately. Probably 4 or 5 players for a course of 28 years really came out with issues, came out with them full blow. And then I had to get them to the professional help they needed. But you can sense things, you can feel things. And Ruthie, I just hear you, the way you were defining success and failure, the way you were defining that for your time, and the way that the sport world was actually working against you, but yet, but the sport world was working for you, because you're so strong and so disciplined, and you're able to, find your way out of something that's so unbearable. The mind is an amazing thing. And you were talking about the women in the prison, 90% there for those reasons. 50% of all women in prison are there because they have a mental health issue. that has not been dealt with, or they've not had the proper treatment or therapy. So I just, I don't know. I hope you write, Ruthie. I mean, I know you write. I've got your books. I mean, I've got your picture up there. But I mean, I don't know if you write for yourself, your journal, your spiritual writing, because I think it's a constant thing to heal. You know what I mean? There's no end point.
And that's so true. It is a constant thing. And I did a WNBA tour. I did a WNBA tour right after the
Ruthie, you're freezing again.
I was thinking I was there just a person.
Sorry, Ruthie, you started freezing again.
Okay, am I good now?
No, you're good. Take that sentence back.
Yeah, I did a tour with the WNBA, and most of the girls were thinking I was just coming just as a legend player to be a spokesperson. They literally didn't know. They were totally shocked that I had gone through it, what I went through. And a lot of my teammates didn't know. When I went to Texas Tech and Cheryl Swoop was there, she literally was like, she bawled. She was like, because she didn't know. And I said, you know what? It's okay. I said, you all did more than you realize you did as teammates.
Sure.
And so doing this tour, I remember Penny Price. You remember Price, Penny? Price, what's her name?
Yeah. You mean Franthea Price?
Not Franthea, but Price. The other one, she went to Ole Miss. What's her name? Coach. She played for Coach Ross. Price. She's a younger generation. She went to Chicago, but she's coaching now. I think she's in basketball operation at Ole Miss. But she was a guard. Anyway, I went there to speak, and she's been knowing my family for a long time. And when I spoke, I went up. Okay, they gave the technical speech of the statistics and stuff, but anyway, I went up and spoke at the last 30 minutes. And when I shared my story, she was just like, she literally came and sat down by me and put her head in my lap and just cried, because her mom, it triggered so many things her mom had gone through. And she just it was so, that moment was just like, it was so powerful, because she just like, I know I've always respected you as Mighty Ruthie. She said, now you've gone through it, and knowing my mom went through it, just like it was just really the tour was really amazing, because it got a chance for me to heal. I was healing in the process. And it's like, and then I did it just with the players. The coaches weren't there. And it was really powerful. Renee Brown was actually working.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wonder if, I know she froze. I guess I can ask you this, Coach P. Like, okay, Ruthie, you back? I was going to ask, when during your coaching time, because I know as a general manager, I've unfortunately faced this with players, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I'm not going to say how many. I'm just going to throw all those numbers out there. And I was like what you say, I had no idea what was going, because I always say as a general manager, sort of like what you say as a coach, how you can't pry. That's why, Ruthie, I was going to ask you, when you were just talking to the players, that any come and get your number and try to reach out to you if they were going through it, because they should have, because like as a GM, I used to tell my players, like, you represent the organization, with pride and with your best foot forward. I'm never going to be in your home, but your home should never reach me. Then we got a problem, if it reaches me. And, unfortunately, I've had to deal with this. And I was like, it was interesting because it was the first time I had encountered that, because I have 3 older brothers, and I'd be like, hey, my brother's going to kill you, right? But when it happened, I'm sitting in my office and I get a call, and it's somebody saying, hey, I speak to Penny Toler. I go, this is Penny. And I just happened to pick the phone up. Lucky I picked it. I don't answer my office phone because everybody calls on the cell phone. And the sheriff says, hey, this is going on with one of your players. And my mouth kind of dropped. And it's going on right now, where I had to get over there with the police, and when I asked, because I always say in my speech before, and that's why I asked Ruthie, like, how did you get away? What was said? I guess my question was, I found out to some degree that this was a trickle effect, what they had learned. Because when I look at you, Ruthie, and you're such a nice person, and knowing you were Mayello for so many years, to hear you say you deserve that, to me, I'm like, you're the last person that deserved that. You know what I'm saying? You've always been so nice and so polite and so positive. And I'm just asking, was it something in your past? And when I say, because I know when it happened, when I saw it, the trickle effect, I got a good view of it because I can't say everything about the story, but put it this way, I was interested that they called another abuser to help versus calling, you know, me who could shut it down. And we shut it down. And when we researched who the abuser was, they had a serious history already of it being an abuser. And I was kind of like, if I could get this information, you know, I know it was readily available. And unfortunately, I feel as women, and I'm not speaking for all women, okay, guys? I don't know why we always feel that we can change someone. But I guess my question to you would be, and I'm just asking, was that something that you grew up seeing? Because that's what it looked like I saw from when because I even asked the parent, you were here. Even if the player didn't call me,
you know what?
I would have hoped that the parent would have called me then.
You know what, Penny? You know what's interesting? When the lady was writing the book From Pain to Power, they drill me. I've been to mental workshops where I was a spokesperson. Well, not spokesperson, but I spoke on a panel. They've been trying to carve out. I said, you can try all you want. I never saw that. My mom, my dad, we had 20 kids in our family. My dad loved on my mom left and right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of loving going on.
That was a lot of love.
A lot of touching and loving. Seriously, this is what we've come to. A lot of my sisters have gone on a book called I Can Because I Am, and we all sort of sharing space to sharing our story. A lot of us have gone through, and this is what I went through some counseling for my own self, like about 2 years ago, trying to figure out why, just trying to, because I'm always, like when I used to play the game, I watch video because I want to be a better player. I want my shot to be better. I want to play a better player. So I always watch myself. So I want to look at my life and what can I do to get better? And so our sisters, what we are, because we didn't grow up watching it, but guess what? We are rescuers. My mom was a heart of gold and love. My mom loved you. Could never do no wrong. My mom said, they ain't mean it. And she fed you and she just loved, she rescued my boys, no matter what my brothers did. It wasn't that bad. So we have this rescue heart and love, and we always trying to save somebody. We always trying to save somebody.
My pastor called it the Messiah complex.
Seriously.
The Messiah complex. I got it. I got it.
And so we got that because, and that's what it is. It's like, I can help him get better. Oh, I can save him. But we think we got it. We get it. But think about it. When you try to do it for your spouse, they subconsciously, they envy you for it because now
they resent you for it.
They resent you. You showing another strength.
Who are you?
Who are you? So that's really what it is. Because we grew up in a loving home. Our mom and dad, my dad, and also, but we want. My dad was very authoritative, like in a Christian way. But we look at that and we try to be submissive. But we actually end up trying to. We always seem like gravitate toward men that need something. We need to fix them. So, and we feel good. There's something in us feel good.
Right, that feels
somebody.
good.
And they end up being, you know what I'm saying? So that's, to me, that's what we've come to grips with. We try to fix people. We are enablers, pretty much.
Well, we've talked about a tough topic today, and we're going to jump into some questions before it gets too far gone. I did not want to move much farther until we had an opportunity to just recognize Medina Dixon. Thank you very much, Cindy. I've gotten this from a lot of people, actually. Penny.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I actually got the text and, I was just sitting here just thinking, wow, I still got the goosebumps. I can't believe it. We were just talking about her a couple of weeks ago, talking about the GOAT and the greatest players that we've ever seen. I mean, Medina was a baller. I mean, had great height, could handles, could shoot, rebound, run the floor. One of the best ever played. And then, and was a great person. This is a great, great loss for women's basketball. The one good thing I would say about it now that people, it's unfortunate that we always celebrate people after they're gone.
Yes.
Which is why they're here. but I'm glad we have this platform, and I'm glad it came across the ticker. I actually have my television on because she was a legend, you know, and a lot of players won't know her, like Ruthie, Coach P, all of us will. But this is why I tell people, when you see the Candace Parkers, the Asia Wilsons, and all them, these players been doing it. They just didn't have television back then.
Yeah, sure. Right.
And these are, and Medina, I'm gonna tell you right now, as far as I'm concerned, and no offense against Yo, was Yolanda Griffin with a hell of a lot of offense. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Play the defense, rebound, but with a hell of a lot of offense. So she was tough to go, and you know, and this is a sad day, but I'm glad that we do have television and social media, because you know, I take my hat off to her. She was one of the best.
On a happier note, Swoops is out there. Cheryl, we had to give you the shout out. She said, "Hi, my beautiful queens." Swoop's been trying to reach out to Ruthie. Somebody in the panel, I think it was Xavier, was blaming Swoops for the reason why Ruthie was freezing. So I'm just getting a chance to check out some of these comments. So Cheryl, we miss you. We love you. We need you to come back. Definitely when we re-rack.
Make sure you tell her, hey Cheryl, we getting a commitment now. We're gonna have most likely when we come back, we coming live from the Ice House with Certified Unscripted, and we want you to come on stage with us, and it's gonna be a great weekend. So you in the house, Cheryl. So don't be backing out. I don't care what day it is.
Love you, Cheryl.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to let me throw this one in for Coach P. Are you coaching again? And which memory? Well, you're coaching. We talked about that. You're coaching in a different way. But what memory stuck out for you most at Duke, or was it at Michigan State, or whereabouts? What sticks out for you?
Great moments, great women, moments everywhere. You'd have to say the 2005 national championship run. We lost to Baylor, of course, and Kim Mulkey in that national championship. And then Duke, the whole process of trying to learn from and take over from a very, very special program where Gail had done so many neat things, and the Elite Eights that we went to, and trying to break through into the Final Four, which Brittany Griner, again, Baylor, made sure we did not do that, losing by 3 in Memphis for a chance to advance to the Final Four. So the Final Four thing is always special. Ruthie, I know you know Final Fours. Penny, you know Final Fours.
Yeah, I know too.
Yeah,
get to the big dance.
I know Final Fours from being at them and running my mouth, but it wasn't from balling. I wish.
Anything around a Final Four,
I've been at the Final Four many times.
Auburn, Ruthie. Auburn took me to my first Final Four as I was learning and trying to coach Ruthie, and Ruthie would pick me up and twirl me around so I got dizzy and put me down. She didn't like. So there you go.
Last week,
and you were doing it. I would look at your teams, you know, from my seat, and unfortunately, I always tell people you got to be good, lucky, and healthy. And unfortunately, a lot of your teams, you would always have 1 or 2 pieces missing.
Yeah, Penny, it's funny you say that. At Michigan State, we went to a national championship playing.
In Michigan State, I didn't. What year was that?
Yeah, only 7 players. But at Duke, I mean, losing Chelsea Gray. I mean, losing the players that we lost, that's part of it, to see what Chelsea's doing now and what she's become and who she is. But we had some interesting challenges. That's part of it. And I enjoy it.
That's why I tell people you have to be, you know, lucky, good, and healthy, sort of like Phoenix this year, you know. And that's what I love about sports, because sports, I always tell people, in sports, you can't calculate everything. Yeah. And that's why it's so great, is you cannot calculate. You could write a perfect script and something can go wrong, and it throws off everything.
On that note,
speaking of throwing off, Coach, why didn't y'all tell me in college my Jerry curl was so bad? That's ridiculous.
Oh my God!
I was afraid of you. I mean, I was half afraid of you. And you could break me in half. And the last thing I was going to do is talk about your hair.
Not about the curl. Not about the curl.
Oh my goodness.
Last week, we're playing catch up on a lot of comments. Last week, we had on Tina Hutchinson And we have received so many comments about how real, how raw, how truthful she was, how vulnerable. We use that word today. Some of the mental, we're talking about mental wellness, mental health, mental illness, the whole piece, all of it. Some of it, believe it or not, we carry a lot of baggage from this game, right? We carry a lot of baggage from the game of basketball because we put so much passion, so much heart in it. And it's so easy to feel like, you failed, as Ruthie talked about, or that life didn't treat you fairly in this game that's supposed to be played, on a two-sided level. So Tina Hutchinson was very, very raw last week. She talked about who she was and her hurt about the 1984 USA team, Linda Sharp's comments about her. We didn't get a chance to really follow up on this at all about Tina, but Penny, your thoughts, or Ruthie, your thoughts last week of just about how raw she was and how much we really do carry a lot of this game with us.
Yeah, real quick, Penny, you always got something to go. I'm gonna just throw mine in real quick. You know what? I think to me, you know what? It's usually okay for the men to do it, but women finally speak up like, hey, and you admit and you're sort of sharing your heart and being vulnerable. I thought it was great. A lot of people saying, man, that was awesome, and that she sharing her heart and that to carry that for so long. So I'm like I said, once again, I knew a space like this was going to create an opportunity for people like players to really share and be vulnerable. So no, I think it was great, and we need more of it. I think being honest with yourself and, hey, you know what, just being honest. So you don't want to go around like she just put it out there, let us show, what's the deal? Talk to me. So I think that was important for her to heal, part of her healing probably.
A lot of people are talking about that piece on Cheryl, too, Penny. I think there's a shout out here. Penny, do you think Tina's tired talking about Cheryl Miller, that she got lost in that shuffle a little bit?
I think Tina, anybody that's seen Tina play back in the day know Tina was great. I'm going to tell you, when I saw Tina, and no offense against Cheryl, I hadn't seen Cheryl yet or whatever, but Tina was one of the best I've ever seen. And like you said, she made the Pan Am team in high school, and not too many people can do that. And speaking on women in general and what we have right now, it's funny because we get the least pay, but society think women are supposed to be perfect. When we carry more than what the price we pay. And what I mean by that, as soon as a woman do something, first of all, you suck, or women don't do this or whatever, and you have to be perfect. I'm sure Coach P, you would say that, Ruthie, you would say that, why you felt it's a failure. I would say that as a general manager, that people have no idea what women go through. And that's why I just want to touch a little bit on this. I love Mitch Kupchak. When people forget that my first 10 years was spent where Johnny Buss owned the Lakers and Jerry West and Mitch Kupchak was there. And I remember a conversation that Mitch Kupchak asked me one day. He said, Penny, do y'all go through this over there? I said, Mitch, we go through all that. And being a women player, think about their spouses who think they know, their male spouses who think they know more than what we know. On top of that, and the pregnancy. And I done lived through, which would have been one of the biggest scandals ever. Well, it wouldn't have been a scandal. I wish it had came out then, and I hope Pam is not mad at me when her husband they were about to have a fight over, her youngest daughter, Imani McGee. And I go, wow, ain't that something? Oprah called. I can tell you, I was a GM still then, my early GM years, because they wanted to put it on with the reversal where a male spouse who was playing, you expect a woman to take care of it. But now you have a woman playing and the male is mad with thinking that she can't give the same commitment because she deserves to be in the home. What I'm saying? That was my take on it. People may have something different, but I'm sure to answer the question there, I don't, Tina's a very how you say, strong person, but I'm sure it might bother her a little bit because you hear of Cheryl and you don't hear of Tina. But anybody that saw Tina play, I'm gonna tell you right now, she was one of the baddest I've ever seen, ever.
Coach P.
Yes.
Everybody that comes on this show has to do a top five greatest players. I'm trying to find it. Oh, here it is. There it is. You got to do your top five. So doesn't matter. College, WNBA, back when you was playing in the neighborhood.
Wait, male, female? Wait, am I limited?
Female.
Okay.
Yep. You got to put together your squad.
Okay, Cheryl Swoops.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say for the way she changed the game, Ann Donovan, the late great Ann Donovan.
Ann Donovan.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say Ruthie Bolton Hollifield. I'm sorry.
That's what you supposed to say, Coach.
My bad. Ruthie Bolton, for the way she changed me and the way I tried to change her, but she didn't need changing because she was just great. Let me see. And then I can't pick any of my players like Coach because then you can't really pick them. So I've got to jump all of them, which means that's 3. Cheryl Miller, I took 2 charges on. As a player. I'm going to put her in the mix. And I think I'm going to go with 2 that I really love, Katie Smith and Tweety Nolan. And I love them for the shock I did.
Yes, that's a good one. Nolan, that's why I be telling people be speaking on Deanna Nolan.
Okay, all right.
So I think I.
All right.
And
wait a minute. Somebody wants to know the funniest thing on the court ever.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my pants ripped.
Oh, whoa.
Was it a TV game?
It was a TV game, and my outfit was made by one of my players. So I was wearing my player's outfit because she did some fashion design.
Oh, wow.
I was wearing this outfit, and it happened, and I had a towel around me, and I'm not sure what people thought, but
I don't know. Was that player getting playing time? Because that could have been sabotage. That could have been
some suicide.
Hey, Coach, where it is?
Aaron Mathias is kicking it overseas, and Renee Haynes said I was switching at the halftime with my assistant. So there you go.
Oh boy. Yeah, somebody's saying Nancy. Wait a minute. Let me see. Nancy, I'm looking. Vera Jones, as a hot mess. Okay. Somebody snapped on my Jerry curl. You had to go there with the Jerry curl, Mighty Ruthie. Danny said that I had a whack Jerry curl, but I had to make sure that if we're going to talk, I'm let her know. Look, my curl was not as bad as Danine Hobson. That's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on. That's all I'm going to say about that. In fact, we talked so much about Cheryl Miller. I had the whole Cheryl Miller thing going. I had the little thing in the back. I was You swing it like this. You take somebody's eye out. I did that well. All right. Trisha wants to know who is the next great woman coach. We mentioned about before you answer this. We did mention early on about Vivian Stringer and COVID, right? That she's not, I don't know if people caught that, but she's not coaching. Yeah, we did kind of talk about that. All right. I had a brain fart. Next great woman coach, who are you thinking?
I think there are a lot of women out there can coach. I feel that it's our time. I mean, Dawn starting with the 22.4 million. You look at Tanisha Wright taking over, Noelle Quinn. I'm not talking about the pros now. I think you're going to have a lot of women coaches getting great opportunities. It's the perfect time to be coaches, and I think the payday is going to be really, really well as well too. What I don't think you will see is the longevity where you've seen coaches for 30 years in one spot for 20 years. But I think there are a lot of women coaches, and I believe. And I don't even want to throw any shade on the coaches that we don't know. These are the people that we know because I played with them. But there are a lot of coach people out there that are doing a great job right now that I didn't play with. So I think the future is bright for ex-women coaches. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Because we're getting ready to wrap. I got to bring in Rita Haywood.
Hey, Rita.
Yeah, Rita. When Rita comes on, it's almost that time. We did not get to a whole bunch of questions tonight. We really wanted to give Ruthie an opportunity to share her story. We thought it was important. We love hoops. We love basketball. We love to kick it. And we're still, I don't know, we're going to talk to Rita to find out what's going on for next week. Yeah.
Well.
I'm not saying nothing. I'm going to keep it quiet.
Well, first off, I want to thank Joanne. I want to thank Ruthie, both of you, for being very transparent and sharing your experience and taking your pain and actually empowering other people with the pain that you've been through, and that you've made it through. You're a survivor, you know, all the way through and through. So I appreciate you for just coming on and being so transparent, because I know it's not easy to do, even though time has passed. But I genuinely appreciate you both coming on, you know. So about next week, it's looking pretty good. So many of you have requested this person, and hopefully next week, next Tuesday, we will have Cheryl Miller on the show.
Woo! Way to go, Rita. Did her homework.
Man, I've been trying. You know, I've been long into. Look, I'm trying. So, like I said, it's about, I say 98%, but you never know. You just never know. You know, so everybody keep your fingers crossed, send up some prayers. Let's make it happen, okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much. So next week is our I guess that's our final episode of the season. Our season was certified unscripted. We didn't know where it was going to end or whatever. But we're going to take a little hiatus, and next week, all of you all that have requested the legendary Cheryl Miller, I hope you'll tell a friend to join us. Remember, you can find us at certifiedunscripted.com. You can also join us right here on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can always visit the website to go back and watch some of the great episodes, including we had Cheryl back on today. She was in the comments, but didn't get a chance to pull her on the show. But yeah, thank you so much again, Coach P, for being here and for everything that you're doing out there in that space of mental health and mental wellness, for being vulnerable and sharing your story. Pick up Coach's book, Secret Warrior. If you haven't got it, go out and get it. And I'm going to want mine autographed, Coach P. And Ruthie, what you have done, you know, quiet as it's kept. I have my own story that probably would shock the world as well. But I experienced it as well. And seeing you share your story has helped me tremendously. Even when you don't even remember, we went to, oh my gosh, we were out in Kansas. Remember when you came all the way out to Kansas to speak?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I was actually kind of going through it at that time. So anywho, moving on. Thank you so much for what you're doing, because you really are impacting and changing people's lives. And it's absolutely necessary that we all just kind of stick together and help lift each other up in this space of mental wellness.
And
so that's it for us.
I want to close. I want to say something too.
Oh no, you want to sing?
Yeah, all the women out there, as men, I just want you to know, stay encouraged. You know, it's like, because no matter what you've gone through, you don't have to look like your situation. You can rise above, because to the world, you might be one person. And to one person, you could be the world. So I'm giving you permission to stay encouraged. Keep turning your pain to power, because amazing grace will always be my song of praise. For it was grace that brought me liberty. I do not know just why he came to love me so, but he looked beyond all of my faults and saw my needs. Love you, ladies.
Amen.
Love you,
all
Joanne.
right.
Love you.
Penny.
Thank you, ladies.
Love y'all.
Thank you. As you all know, when it comes to women's hoops and life stories, we're not new to this. We true to this. We are certified
Unscripted.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week for our